Now, there's a reason that this song is playing. It's called No Shame. And there's a reason I have it playing for you right now, because yesterday is when some of you, excuse me, met me for the first time through a very passionate outburst when someone asked a question about the struggle with bringing women into a dealership. And some of you maybe in that moment went, oh my God, this guy he swears a lot. Right, I've heard Anthony disclaimer, I'm like, if you think I'm real, this is my Anthony voice, if you guys think I'm real, you gotta hear this guy. Here's the thing. First and foremost, I want you to know this. Never have I ever, everybody say never. Never have I ever written a profane word in anything I've said. And it's the only time that comes out like that is when I see something so damaging that I'm like, someone has to do what Lisa said yesterday. We need to be change agents. So at Rockstar, our hashtag is lead the change. I truly believe our industry sucks. Everybody say, sucks. But I don't think it has to. But I want to tell you a little bit about me first. Joe's right. There's all those neat things about me. But here's what you don't know. None of that is deserved at all. Zero, zip, zilch. I did sell cars. I was on the retail side for a dozen years. I didn't get into the business because I was like, one day, I never in my life said, one day, I never like growing up, I was like, I want to be a speaker and change people's lives. Matter of fact, I didn't even care about anyone's lives. When I was growing up, I was like, man, my Uncle Danny is a Jaguar. He is rich. He's the only one in the family that's rich because he's a pilot. We were super poor. So cool, that's the goal. Maybe one day get a Jaguar, because it is a 3-syllable word if you don't know how to say it properly. Just like Porsche, not porch. So frustrating. So when I grew up, I didn't go, I want to go learn how to sell. Let me get in the auto industry. What happened was I built a child because sex is fun. And I was an 18-year-old kid with a child on the way, and I went, oh God, I can't afford to feed myself. How am I going to feed another human being? This was not something I was prepared for. And I don't know many parents that go, oh, I'm so prepared. God, this is so, unless they're like late in life and struggling to build one. So I went, this is scary. Thankfully, my dad, who smoked a lot of weed, sold a lot of drugs, also did that with the finance manager at a Chevy store. So I was fortunate that they made a very bad hiring decision in hiring me. I was told I had an interview Monday, show up dressed nice, wear slacks, wear a button-up shirt and a tie, which I owned none of, so I went to Goodwill and bought. And I was always a chubby kid, so the pants were too long, I rolled them up because, I'm thinking I'm going there for a detail job. And I get in, I interview with all these managers, and Sam Cloud, the GM, says, show up Monday, dressed up, which, by the way, was the only outfit that I had that wasn't like skateboarder kid clothes. So I showed up Monday, thinking, and I was so excited, by the way. I get hired for the job, I call my grandmother, who mostly raised me, which is the only reason probably I'm not a complete pile of garbage. And I called her, I was like, guess what? She goes, what? I go, oh my God, I got a grown-up job. I'm like, I'm gonna be rich. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah. They told me I can make like $50,000 a year, which now would lead me into bankruptcy, probably. And she's like, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, I'm gonna sell cars. And it was like I heard someone stab her through the phone. It was like, oh, which was followed with this. Don't let them turn you into a liar. How many of you have ever, in your career, heard automotive salespeople say, when their family and friends ask them, I'm a sales consultant. I'm a sales professional. I'm an automotive industry. You know what? You're a car salesman. And why are you embarrassed about the fact that every day you help people have reliable transportation, get their kids to school without dying, or drive a hot car and finally meet the girl or boy of their dreams? There's no shame in that, but we're ashamed of it often. So I bring this up to you because I tell you this, I did it for a dozen years, and guess what? During that dozen years, at first I sucked. Got blown out of the first 2 stores I was at. Third one I had a mentor. Everybody say mentor. I loved when you guys were talking about the process and the couple weeks and the mentor. I got in Chip Iceberg. His actual name was Roy, but he was a golf professional. So he went by the name Chip Iceberg, and Chip was the top guy in our dealership. The third dealership I'd ever worked at, they hooked me up on Grant Cardone tapes, did intensive training the first 2 weeks. Chip was my mentor. So I shadowed him, did whatever he said, learned. That was 1995 at the end of the year. I was salesperson of the year. Yay, won a trip to Vegas when I was too young to go, went anyway. It was awesome. I was like, man, I like this feeling. Plus I get to drive a car around for free, and I was a broke kid. And then the next 2 years, I did what a lot of us do. I thought I was smarter than my manager, who couldn't buy cars right, didn't ever advertise right, and my numbers went ba-doop, ba-doop, ba-doop. And I bounced to a couple stores. And then I went to one because I was like, man, like nobody, like Harold Ziegler Auto Group was like the pinnacle back then. They didn't want to hire me. I had failed miserably many times. And then another dealership took a shot. Now, in that dealership, originally I had no mentoring. And a day came where, oh God, I can't even tell you what year it was. Mark Dameron, my used car manager, calls me in his office. Now at this time I was so terrible at selling cars that my friend Todd and I were sharing an office. Yeah, and we just said like, well, we work as a team. What that really meant is we're both really horrible, and if one of us doesn't want to get fired, we need to share a desk. And Bart called me in and said, listen, the Christmas party's coming up. I don't want your family looking at me like, all these excuses that you've been lying about when you go home. So here's what you're going to do. Before you leave today, you're going to write down every single thing you did on the half hour, all day long. Then take it home, get it signed, and bring it back in the morning if you still want your job. If not, if you don't want to write that down and do that, and by the way, I want to look at it before you leave. If you don't want to do it, you can always put your stuff in a box and just go home forever. And I was like, holy crap. I'm in this moment of like, I cannot afford to get blown out again. I'm like, at this time, by the way, I'm like, I think, my second son was already coming. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is horrible. I'm definitely a failure, is how I felt. So I did what he said because I knew I couldn't afford not to. It was a life changer. Now, thankfully, because it changed me, the dealership saw that change with others too, and they invested a ton of money with the Joe Verdi group back then to train all of us. And then I got a little better. Didn't happen overnight. And then they invested a little more money to teach me how to be a leader. And what I found was what I'm going to talk to you about today, which is I'm going to talk to you about creating a movement. Everybody say movement. Movement. And I don't just mean a huge gathering of people movement, but a movement within inside people. What I learned is we're all wired different. True or false? Are you exactly the same as John?
Perhaps not.
Obviously, I mean, you're basically twins. That's why I had to ask.
We just have the same facial hair.
Yeah, that's basically, and the same shirt. Here's the thing. No two human beings are alike, and I love Anthony, and I know you are the most process-driven guy I know, and you also know that I always say, I hate the process. But not because of the sake of the process. I hate it because nobody knows why in the hell they're doing it. I'm going to ask you guys a question, honest answer. True or false? These are the basics. Greet them, ask questions, show the product, write them up, close the deal. True or false? True or false? We call those the basics. If we do, say yes.
Yeah.
Those are the basics, yes? Majority of the people that we hire are adults. True or false? Okay, those are only 5 freaking things. Yet we spend $30, $40, $70, $90,000 a year to bring someone in to teach grown-ups 5 things. You know what else is basic? Wiping your butt. My mom doesn't come and teach me it every 30 days. We have to embrace the fact that we're adults teaching adults, and we have to start empowering them. And the only way we can do it is if we impact them here. Good thing I was last, so I'm not getting this all over the mic for someone else. It's mostly just allergies, don't worry. Pretty sure. See, here's the thing though. The reason I want to talk to you about creating a movement is because it's bigger than Automax. You are more than being a trainer. You are bigger than Automax. As a matter of fact, the reason why I want to help you understand how to craft a message that creates a movement is because your impact can actually create a ripple in the entire world. If I told you today that you could actually impact the whole world, that's pretty big, yeah? How many people are in the world? Say again?
7 billion.
7 billion people in the world, right? Roughly, give or take. Few die, few pop back out every morning. That's how it works. True or false?
Yes.
Okay. If you knew that you could learn a way to impact 7 billion people, that you had the potential to do that, is that a skill worth learning? Yes or no? Is that a skill worth paying for? Yes or no? Yes. I'm going to give you a reason to want to buy that later, but not yet. Here's what I'm going to tell you. All of the best messages you've ever heard in your life, the most powerful, earth-changing movements, had the same 4 elements. And I'm going to break them down, but let's talk about people that have been industry changers and life changers. Who's ever heard of a guy named Steve Jobs? If you have, say aye. This isn't about Apple, by the way, even though it's the best computer company in the world. Steve Jobs created a cult-like following, or as Russell Brunson would say, a culture. He created a culture of people that believed Apple was the best product on the planet. Don't believe me? Who saw the original iPod being released ever? Does anyone remember how that went? Okay, in 1984, they created a movement against IBM where the commercial had what now looks like a Hooters outfit. But everybody was in a blue suit because that's what IBM wore. Everyone looked the same. IBM sold hardware, Apple did too, and it was very like scary feeling. And out runs this Hooters waitress with a sledgehammer who throws it through the screen. The fascist regime is destroyed, and Apple becomes the coolest computer company in the world in 1984. Because 1984 will not be like 1984. Fast forward time, the iPod. How many of you have ever had an iPod? Say aye. Now, Steve Jobs, when he announced the iPod, said this: the average person owns enough CDs to have 1,000 songs. Everybody say 1,000, because thousands is going to matter in a moment. He said the average person has 1,000 song collection, but they can't take it with them. So he pulls out this little square thing and he goes, this is the iPod. It holds 1,000 songs. 1,000 songs in your pocket. That little sentence made the iPod the best-selling musical thing in the world. But guess what? Dell came out with one that had way more capacity, held so many more songs, and it failed. And Microsoft came out with the Zune, and they had ones that looked like wood, and they had a huge screen, and it was color, and it was so much cooler, and it failed. You know why? Because everything they did was talking about the process and what they did and why it was cool. And what they didn't do is go, you'll like it in here. It will feel good to have this in your pocket. Give you another example of how they created a feeling. Last Christmas, this commercial, literally, even talking about it, still wells me up. Last Christmas, there was a commercial. How many of you have kids? If you do, say aye. Aye. Okay, how many of you have teenagers? Say aye. If you agree they spend too much time on their phone, say aye. Oh my God. Yeah, it's like once you hit that, you're like, I'm so exhausted, I can't even say aye about that because they wear me out. Here's the thing. Apple did this commercial. Here's a family getting together for Christmas, if you remember. Beautiful scene. Snowball fights, cooking in the kitchen. It's like, oh, this is so beautiful. And here's the teenager over there like this on his iPhone. And mom and dad are like, you know, like, hey, Stevie, come join us in the snowball fight. And he's just like, oh, wait a minute. Right? And they're like, oh, come outside and play with it. And the commercial takes you through this emotional roller coaster because you can relate to both sides. You're like, oh, I'm the parent. I want my kids to be involved. I love my kids. And then you're like, oh, my kid doesn't want to be involved with family. Oh, it's so heartbreaking. Teenagers are so detached. Technology, you're like, why would you be showing me this, Apple? Here's why, because when the family comes in to eat, what happens? Anybody remember? iMovie made me think of this today. When everybody comes in and sits down in the living room, the kid plugs it into the TV. All day he's been making a movie about the moment that happened together. Here's why that matters. God, it does just get me all choked up. Here's why that matters. It matters because that feeling skyrocketed iPhone sales. Because people went, wait a minute, my kids actually care about us? I just didn't realize because I don't do stuff the same way. Holy shit, my kid is on the iPhone making a movie about my family because they love us back. What the hell? This is insane. Now, here's why that matters to you. Because what we're doing is bigger than training. It's bigger than automotive. It's bigger than car sales. Thank you so much. What you are doing is not who you are. Let me say it again. What you're doing is not who you are. Who has ever heard of Martin Luther King Jr.? Say aye. What was his speech called? I have a what? He didn't say I have a process, Cliff. He didn't say I have 32 questions I ask everyone to break down the walls of racism. He said I have a dream. See, the problem is we stop dreaming, we start doing. That's what we do every day. I'm gonna go do. What do you do? Oh, I do this one dealer over and so. And it's not a bad thing, but we get in the cycle and the rhythm, and sometimes we just got to go, maybe it's time to be instead of do. Maybe we need to help other people connect in there. Because if we can help them figure out what are they passionate about. How many of you guys ran stores? If you did, say aye. Aye. How many of you have ever led a team of people in any capacity? If you have, say aye. Aye. In those times, who has ever taught you're supposed to do a daily one-on-one? If you've been taught that, say yes. Yes. How many of you consistently did it every day with everyone because you actually cared? Yes. Thank you for being honest. Here's the reality. It's very easy to do it and do it until it's too hard to do it. But here's the thing, if you don't intimately know the people that you're working with, how can you serve them? True or false? True. See, the reality is this, as a leader, if you ever have to let someone go, it should break your heart. If you ever have to let someone go, it should break your heart. Because they're not the only ones working for you. Who else do they take care of? Right? We talk about impacting the lives of the dealership, but sometimes we forget they have kids at home, they have spouses, they have charities they give to, right? So if we aren't heartbroken when those people fail, then we are failing them. True or false? Good. We're going to go to church here in a minute. So the why that we're doing this is because we can create a ripple that impacts the world. Now, I said thousands mattered. Everybody say 1,000. Actually, everybody say 10,000. You might wonder why I have a $100 bill. It's so that I don't forget to do what I'm going to do with it and accidentally keep it. You might get it, so get ready, spaghetti. Here's the deal. The average human being meets 10,000 people in their lifetime. Say 10,000. Each of those people in their lifetime on average meets 10,000. Say 10,000. 10,000. And each of those meets 10,000. Everybody say 10,000. Do you know that 4 layers deep, that is 1 trillion people? Sorry, 4 layers deep is 100 million. But then when all 100 million of them meet their 10,000, that is over 1 trillion people. That is more people that are on the planet right now today. But as we like to say, someone's got to lead the change. It's got to begin in a moment. If you follow me on social in any way, you always see me say this. You're just, no matter where you're at in your business or your life, you're just 1 moment away. True or false? We tend to take 1 moment and then make that moment the rule for the lifetime. Which means we tend to take stuff out of context a lot too. We build a framework of beliefs in 1 moment and then we don't let the next moment change the framework. So in 1985, somebody said, welcome to the dealership, my name's Matt. Who's the lucky one that gets a car today, you or someone else? Because it can only be them or someone else. Oh, it's me. Oh, great, congratulations. Follow me. That is so, that worked in 1985 when people were too stupid. Oh wait, people weren't stupid. When people didn't have the internet so they could go, I don't have to deal with that. I can go online, I can email 32 of you in an hour. The car that I bought and made a mistake buying, the entire transaction was actually consummated in under 1 hour. It was all by text. The GM only had to make 1 phone call to me, went to my credit union, picked up the check, picked the car up the next morning. Know how long I was there? The car was ready to go when I got there. They didn't even do appraisal on my car. I took 23 pictures of it. They didn't need to. And the longest thing was the F&I guy spending the paperwork that wasn't making any money on it, and he was too busy bitching to the GM about how he didn't want to do the paperwork. Which I could overhear, but I thought I was getting such a good deal, I really didn't care. And then I learned I was wrong, because the car sucks. Here's what I tell you guys. That's because the experience that we create with the human being does happen in 1 moment. Yesterday, a few people, that moment hit them hard, wrong. Oh my God, he said the F word. Sorry, that was intentional. And if I actually meant that I was sorry, I would actually say I'm sorry for that, but I'm not. And I'll tell you why I'm not sorry for that. Because it wasn't for you. And it wasn't to you. But someone, somewhere, who's a general manager, who's objectifying every female that walks in their door needed to hear that. And they needed to hear it that way because that's how it goes in their ears. What were you telling me earlier? You're from the Midwest. When you got to Philly, man, the way these guys communicated. Guess what? That's how the GM communicates who's mistreating every female that walks in his door. That message wasn't for you. If it offended you, maybe for a moment think, well, that message wasn't for me. So, I guess you shouldn't hurt my feelings. Because that message was for the jerk that needed to hear it. And hopefully it will. And hopefully it'll change. And if he doesn't, well, eventually he's going to die and somebody good will take over. It's just how life works.
Well, there were positives, there were comments that said that needed to be said.
Now, granted, this is why I don't get paid as much as Lisa does, because some people are so afraid that they could have a heart attack when we get together. Now, here's the thing. There is somebody else. Let me ask you this. Think of the most powerful messages that you've ever heard in your life. Who are some of the biggest, most powerful, movements or speakers that you've ever thought of in human history? Throw out some names. I said Steve Jobs and Martin Luther King Jr. Throw out some more.
Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins. Who else? Roosevelt. Simon Sinek. Who else? They don't have to be business, by the way. Just life changers, game changers.
Jesus.
Hey, I like Jesus. Lincoln. Let's talk about Jesus, actually. Because Mike Cirillo said something yesterday. He said, to truly disrupt is to be authentic and put other people's needs before yours. If y'all would agree that you should put others before you, say aye. Guess what? I love and agree with what Michael said, but that disruption started thousands of years ago. That wasn't invented on the web live yesterday. As a matter of fact, I'm going to talk to you about two disruptions. One starts with leadership. The best, and how many of you would call yourself a leader? If you do, say aye. Aye. You realize there's two things you need to know about that. One, every single human being has the opportunity to lead other people. You have the opportunity to. Everyone who sees you and hears you, they can choose whether to follow or not. And then you're leading them if they're following you. But if no one's following, you can't call yourself a leader. That's number one. But number two, in our business, most leaders say, you work for me. I go to conference after conference after conference where I hear people say to the general manager, oh, they don't want to work bell to bell. Well, whose name's on the building? And I see live streams that say the same thing, and I'm like, why are you celebrating that? Someone earlier, oh, God bless him, I love Chris. He was talking about the person that was like, oh, my feelings are hurt, the kid mowing the lawn. I'm like, he's like, it's not about their feelings. You know what? That's all it's about. Because how someone feels determines how they respond. So if you don't care about their feelings, you're failing. No feelings, you're failing. It's fun to make fun of millennials until you realize there are more of them and they're going to be the workforce and they don't want to work for you because you said, I don't care about your feelings. And so then they go to someone else who does, or an industry that does. And then a Carvana or someone else becomes this industry. Amazon's already doing it. They're selling cars, just not in your market. And guess what? It's working. Not to the scale they want yet, but if you think Bezos can't make that happen, you better pull your head right out of that dirt. The richest man in the world has got enough money to do it because Russell Brunson says this, the number one rule in marketing is to outspend everyone else, and you ain't outspending Amazon. True or false? So it does matter what people feel. And here's the cool thing. Here's why it matters, not just because of that example I gave you. Two things. One, Jesus, thank you for bringing him up, as a leader gave a great example. If you don't know history, back then people didn't have Yeezys. They were mostly walking around in slippers, flip-flops, sandals, whatever we're going to call them. So their feet were dirty. So when someone would come in a house, what would happen? Anybody know? Right, who would wash their feet though? No, they didn't. Who would wash their feet? Now, there is a passage in the Bible where everybody comes to a place for dinner, but who gets on his knees and does it? Oh, then what's the number one example for a leader to be? Who's supposed to do it? The servant. Which means your salespeople don't work for you. Your job is to ask them, how can I work for you? When I did one-on-ones with my people, we talked about three things. We had them scheduled every day, same bat time, same bat channel. 3 questions. Talk to me about yesterday. How was yesterday? What went down yesterday? And they'd fill me in and we'd have a dialogue. The next question is, what have you got planned on the books for today? And then we'd have a dialogue. And then I would say, what do you need from me to be successful? How can I help you? Who do I need to call? What TOs do you need me to make? What do I need to do? Do I need to take a card to someone? What can I do to help you win? Even if they don't succeed because they're not wired for the business, true or false, they're not going to leave and say, this dealership sucks, Matt sucks. 2 of my 3 people that were on my Nissan team within a year ended up getting promoted and going to work for OEMs, which was thrilling / discouraging. Thankfully, a different dealer group made me a big enough offer to leave since the people that I loved left. But they left for promotions, not because they didn't like. And the reality is, We got to stop lying to people and act like, come in as a salesperson, you'll move your way up to management. No, come in as a salesperson is a great role to be in. That's real life. Because unless the manager quits or dies, you ain't getting promoted. I mean, come on. But there's another thing Jesus did. Well, there's another verse in the Bible. It's actually 1 John 3:15, where Jesus said this. Everyone. Everybody say everyone. Everyone. Now say it like you're trying to tell all 7 billion people. Say everyone. Everyone. He said everyone will know you're with me by your... Anyone? Size. So close. Thank you. Love. Everybody say love. Love. Now you're like, whoa, I thought we were just talking about not being like inappropriate with people in the dealership. It's not that kind of word. If you do any study the original Greek, where there are 2 words in there that matter. Huge. By the way, for those of you that are going to be super shocked after yesterday, I used to be a youth pastor. The original Greek word that was used there is agape, which basically means benevolence. Does anyone know what that means? What? Yeah, kindness, right? To be kind. So 2 things he said. Everyone will know you're with me if you what? By your kindness. But the word used for everybody in Greek was pas. Everybody say pas. I probably mispronounced that. I'm not Greek. Here's the cool thing. That word meant all, everything in all creation, everywhere, everyone, individual, cumulatively. Yesterday, Craig said this. This is forever. Let me say that again. This is forever. Was a sentence Craig said. How many of you would like to impact everyone? If you would, say I. How many of you would like to get back, even if you couldn't impact everyone because you didn't get to know that the ripple happened, would you be happier if you could communicate better with just 1? Or 2? Or 3? There's 4 things, and I would encourage you to write these down, that go into every one of those movements that have ever changed the hearts of people so they jump. Thing number 1, write it down. Who? Who the person is. See, when we meet someone, if we don't really know who they are at the core, if we don't understand them, if we don't take the time to get to know who they are, if they don't get to know you, by the way, you're the who in this first step. If they don't get to truly know you, they can't choose to follow you. They can't choose to believe you're giving them good advice on this career that might be the best of their life, or the worst if it's the wrong store. So the first key thing in creating a message that powers a movement is who. Who's the person delivering the message? The next key thing in all that is what. Everybody say what. What? See, they got to know what they're buying. And you guys say, well, Jesus wasn't selling. Well, he wasn't selling exchange, but he was selling the idea. He was selling the idea that you could stop acting like your goat bought you a ticket to the promised land. It's bought and paid for, dude. In 3 weeks, it's going to suck for me. Right? But his message, that's his what. Right? What's your what? What are people buying from you? What do they get by embracing you? If you're interviewing a candidate, if you're trying to help them understand the value of the career they're going into and the life change that could happen, you've got to actually know what the heck it is that they're getting, and you've got to know how to communicate it in the way that they hear. True or false? We don't all communicate from the same roadmap. Right? Fact of the matter is, I don't communicate the same as some of you. Sometimes I get all revved up and I swear, sometimes I get all revved up and I cry. It's a weird thing when you're in your 40s. You know, I thought I had like 1 feeling left. They started growing back in the last year. Like, I swear I got rid of every one of you. So first, who is delivering the message, right? Second thing, what is it that they're buying? What is it that they're getting? What is this about? But the third thing, and I'd argue it's almost the most important, except all 4 have to be there, is why. Everybody say why. Why? See, I want you to understand how to create a movement. Why? Because that way you can create a positive ripple in this world, and then granularly in this industry that we're in that is hurting so bad for people to do good things. There's the why. But what's yours? Everybody's like, what's your why? My family. Okay. Why? Why do you care? Why do you want to provide for your family? Well, so my kids can go to a great school and they'll have health insurance and then their life will be good. Great. Why does that matter, though? Great. You had sex and now popped a human. You were having fun. She gets 9 months of ouch. A human pops out, and your why is, oh, this weird, wrinkly thing. That's my why. Which, by the way, kittens are way cuter than babies when they're little. I love my 3 kids. They're gorgeous as grown-ups. But what's truly your why? It's not your kids. It's not your spouse. I do this so my wife can live her dream. But that's not entirely true. Because when she lives her dream, how do you feel? If she couldn't, how would you feel? You're not doing it necessarily for her dream. Ultimately, we're doing it because we feel fulfilled when we make a difference for someone else. True or false? Tony Robbins says 2 things go into that. We can't just get. For some reason, we feel like we're missing something. Why? Because we got to give back. If we don't do that too, there's only half the puzzle. And eventually we fail out. Emotionally, mentally, physically, it just shuts down. So first thing is who? Everybody say who? Now everybody say me. No, I meant me. No, I'm just kidding. You're the who. So now you've got to figure out how to craft the story. When you introduce yourself to them, you've got to learn how to build a story that emotionally makes them go, now I want to know what it is you're selling me. So the first thing you've got to craft is, how do I communicate who I am? And who I am, by the way, not only did I grow up poor, but I did inadvertently get my start in sales after high school. Right when I graduated, who I thought was a good friend of mine said, hey, come on, my uncle's got a job for us. And we pulled into a migrant camp where there was a blueberry field, and his uncle walked out, handed a pound of marijuana to me, and said $8.50 by Friday, and then went back in the field, like into the mist. I thought it was funny too. I was like, okay, I guess I know I'm going to get a Jaguar. Fast forward time about 3 months, I was invited to a party at the same migrant camp to be killed. Little did I know. Yeah, you want to talk about being scared then. Ooh, I was very scared. At 17 years old, I did graduate high school early. Not so smarts, because my principal didn't want me there another year. I get out there, and when I finally realized what was happening and why I was lured out there, terrible chain of events. Broke someone's arm on my car door, drugged them, raced home, moved in the middle of the night. I thought it was for a year and a half, but I guess I didn't talk to my family for almost a year, because it was pretty scary. So no one could really know where we were, until I saw the guy who was in my backseat planning on killing me on America's Most Wanted. Thankfully, after killing someone else, he fled to Mexico. So that was a pretty good, I was like, phew, now I can tell people where I'm at. And I couldn't grow facial hair till like I was almost 30. So the good news is now I wouldn't be recognizable, and I'm pretty sure by now someone should have killed him. So I don't think he'll see this. But if he does, I feel like I'm a little tougher. Just teasing, I'm not tougher than the cartel. Don't ever come after me. But see, who I am, and this is why I tell you that story. Everybody's got a story, and the problem is when we meet people, we don't know theirs. They don't know ours. And I'm not telling you that you got to tell your applicants your whole backstory, but I'm telling you mine because it means if I can grow up a poor trailer park kid with nothing, welfare Christmas, blocks of cheese before it was called Velveeta, powdered milk before that was what you did to keep your carbohydrates down. If I can go from that to being somebody who, Lisa yelled at me the other day when I was like, well, this agency, like I was like, I don't know, if it's only like a 45-minute deal, I'll be like, I don't know, 6, 7. She's like, everything is $10,000. 1 hour, $10,000. Don't you dare say less. Like, okay. You gotta remember, when I grew up, I don't even think we made that a year on welfare. I still have weird associations. If I can do that, why can't you change one life? And then let them go change another one. But the fourth key to every message that creates a movement is they need to know how to move. They need to know how to move. If that's in order to take advantage of this opportunity, you need to what? You need to say yes, you need to fill this out, you need to go online, you need to cut your hair before you come back and let me re-interview you. When someone sees you, you don't look like you're still stoned from yesterday. Once they buy into who you are, and they know what it is that you're trying to offer them, and they know why they cannot live without what you've got, then you just simply have to say, and here's how you get it. Here's how you take the next step. That's it. But I want to challenge you guys to do this. Every one of these situations you go into, everybody say expectation.
Expectation.
And I don't want you to ever think of that again. Instead, say appreciation. I had the privilege and honor, Chris and I bought tickets a year in advance to a multi-level marketing deal, but Tony Robbins was speaking, and he said, you'll find true fulfillment in your life when you learn to trade your expectations for appreciation. It goes a long way, by the way. Personal relationships, business relationships, but here's the deal. One thing I've really committed myself to is this. I expect nothing when I walk into a moment. Whatever the moment is. I don't expect anything out of it. And here's the crazy part. When you're talking to an applicant, a training attendee, a general manager that you want to sell because you know you need it, because you've got a mortgage payment due or a car payment due, and everything is behind you, you're so broke, you're just scared shitless. Stop for one moment and go, here it is. No matter what, when I leave, they'll be better than when I walked in. If they buy, will they be better? Yeah. If they don't buy, can you still make sure you leave them better? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But right now, do you make that your mission every single time? Don't answer out loud. Well, I know you do, because I've known you a minute. See, every person you meet, every moment you have, every moment, and it's hard, every moment, try and think of it that way. When you leave, are they better than when they met you? If they're not, it's not their fault. If they won't listen, it just means I don't know how to communicate the way that they need to hear. So maybe I got to learn a little different way to communicate. So now I've got an opportunity, right? Speaking of opportunities, I'm going to wrap this up. I got two things for you. One, I love helping people. I also only have 24 hours in a day, so I don't always do it for free. And thank you for paying for the hotel and all the food. I love you, bro. So here's the thing, though. I've got an 8-week mastermind that I put together for you guys. If you want to participate in it, it's not free, and I'm not going to pretend it is. But it's normally $1,000 a person, and it's $500. And I even have another option that broke it into 2 payments of $250 if you want to be part of it. It will kick off next Monday. If you want to do it, you can go to mattkoenig.com and click the link that says Max Synergy. That will be gone tomorrow when I get on the plane, because I'm not leaving it for the public to see that I'm selling it for cheaper than what I would sell it to them for. So you can go to matkoenig.com. You can pay with your credit card. It's $500. We're going to have 8 weeks as a group. We're going to wrestle through all the shit that's super hard for you. We're going to be raw, we're going to be real. You're going to be able to be honest and say, this is where I'm struggling and where I really need some help. And guess what? It may then stem from those group moments to me calling you and working with you and having video meetings with you for 2 months. We're going to love on each other, and we're going to make sure that you walk out of there better than you walk in. So thank you so much. And here's the other thing. Who likes money? Say, I like money. So Rockstar Auto Conference, I reached out to Craig and I said, listen, man, your people are in front of general managers every freaking day. And my conference likes general managers being in seats. And I said, hey, Craig, we would like to pay Automax 50% commission on, oh yeah, you should stop the live stream now. I said, we would like to pay Automax 50% commission on every ticket as a referral for every ticket that your people sell. And then you can commission them however you'd like, right? Because that would be inappropriate for me to go around the guy who brought me here. And Craig's words were this: no way, man. At first I was like, well, I kind of thought we were friends. That's kind of a dick move. I didn't really think he was a dick. He goes, no way, man, because here's the deal. I want you guys to just give all 50% directly to them. Now, I'm going to give you an idea. Right now in the early bird stuff, our tickets are only $195, and we're actually doing buy one, get one, because we know the more GMs and seats, the more the sponsors will write bigger checks for. And I'm not ashamed to say that on live stream, because they know it too. But once the first 100 seats are filled, those tickets go up to $795, of which you'll get 50%. And by the way, the moment that the ticket gets paid for by credit card with us, if you prefer check, the check goes out that next morning to you. If you like PayPal, we'll PayPal to you the same day. That's how we roll. Let me ask you this. Who thinks you could be the first person to sell a $200 ticket to a conference that comes for 2 people? If you think you could be first, say aye. You owe me one.
Well, I'm speaking at it, so I should be.
That wasn't one of the fake hundreds, by the way. But synergy really means nothing more than doing it together. Would you agree? Yes. And yesterday what we heard was simply this. Collectively, right? One is greater than one. One group is greater than one person. At Rockstar Auto Conference, we know we couldn't do this on our own. If you were to listen to the intro that I almost played, but it was 60 seconds and I didn't have the video, so I was like, oh, they might get like weird. But it starts right out explaining that we're going against the biggest names out there. Chris and I, no venture capitalist money, every dollar out of our pocket. Even the minus $300,000 a piece that we lost last year. It's great when you don't have to file taxes because you went negative, because you lost so much money. It's such a good feeling. That wasn't on Rockstar, that was on another business. Here's the crazy thing, guys. We do stuff like this because we really believe we are on a mission to change the world, not the industry. Change lives. Every single person that walks out, we want their life changed. We tell people, you have a 100% refund guarantee at Rockstar Auto Conference. You come in, if by lunch you don't feel like this is the conference I need to be at, my life is changing, come up to me or Chris, we'll give you your money, go play in Vegas, get out. We never, ever sell and let a vendor give us money for a booth so they can get on stage and pitch our attendees. Doesn't work that way in our world. We're not going to lie to human beings to make money. Because guess what? Money does not grow on trees technically. Well, yes it does. Cotton. They print more every day. Somebody's going to want what we've got. In the message of synergy, we want what you've got. We want to work with you guys. And we want you to be part of this movement to lead the change with people. If that sounds good to you, say aye. Aye. You guys, let me just say from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you giving me this time. Now, if you feel like you're walking out of this room better than when I walked up here, say aye. Aye. Thank you so much. If you didn't, come talk to me and I'll try and fix it.